This is an AI-free podcast. Everything you read, see, and hear was created by a human. How does that critique you're not being honest? How are you going to approach that next thing?
It's funny because I feel like any attempt that I make to try and answer that will inherently be skirting the question. How do you be honest, right?
Well,
and you said yourself that you're never honest.
Not 100% all the time.
I think every time I sit down to try, I get a little better at understanding what my flaws are.
Okay.
And I think it's better to know my flaws and own them than to be oblivious to the flaws. I know my flaws that I think I'm a main character. I walk into every room and I think everybody's absolutely in love with me.
If we're going to be honest, that's the one thing I found really annoying about you. Like, there's commanding attention, there's demanding attention, right? And when you demand attention, you get usually the wrong kind of attention. People are like, I can't with you right now.
What is the difference?
Demand attention, you're saying, like, I am the star of the show. Everyone must love me. You obviously love me, blah, blah, blah. And that's the way you carry yourself. When you command attention, you walk in and you let what you've done and who you are speak for itself. That's the difference, right? And I think that maybe it's because you're younger and I'm older that I don't go in talking about whether I'm wonderful or not. I've lived enough of my life to know I'm not. Maybe there was a time when I demanded attention, like, look at me. And it didn't work out. So now, why did you want to do a podcast with me? Did I ask you to? Did I demand that attention from you? Did I say, oh, you should do this thing with me and let me be the center of attention? And
I benefit a lot from this podcast.
Do you?
I do.
How?
Dan, you hate to be told that people think you're special.
What does that mean? Why are you doing that?
I'm thinking.
Well, you can't. Oh, all right.
What?
How about I'll just turn away? How's that? Because I got a swivel chair and I cannot look at you until I need to speak to you. Go ahead.
Everything felt manufactured.
Me?
No, not you. Shut up.
All right.
Everything through the book thing was too easy and too manufactured, and everybody was too supportive. But you told me to go fuck myself, and
I didn't say
you kind of did though. And I was like, this feels like the first place where I can actually learn to be something better as opposed to just continuing to be what I am. Because despite the fact that I am perfect and everyone loves me when I walk in the room, I actually do think there are maybe some things I need to get better at and that I'm not 100% skilled at yet. And in absence of having creative wings to bring me to a higher plane, you provide a wall that I can climb. And I appreciate that. And that's why I come back. And I learn a lot when you talk.
Start this. I'm going to start this. Let's talk about process and let's talk about genuineness at the same time. So, in terms of process, of sitting down and wanting to write something, and like you want to write books, like you want to be an author, but you're still looking for a voice. And I think that part of the problem with you're looking for a voice is that you're still looking for that honest sense of you. Like you're very comfortable with you, right? But there's got to be a thing that you drill down into that will really motivate to bring the next thing through. I did a lot of my best writing during COVID because this place was shut down. We weren't really doing anything. I was home with like my thoughts, and I was able to put together some interesting stuff. I started a book. I'm hoping I will finish it about fortune cookies, but it's not about fortune cookies. It's kind of about me. And then I also later, when I started selling my Hot Wheels, on eBay, I started a project where I was writing about the cars.
Yeah.
But at any rate, those came from just being able to focus and think on it. And the more the world opened up, then the less I was able to spend time being, a writer. And I think part of it is beyond the obvious time sink that goes into running a place like this or running a business of any sort. You get further and further away from that thing that drove you to sitting down to put those words to paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in terms of process, like maybe not, today or tomorrow or even in the next however long, that you might be thinking about, what am I going to write next? And I think that that's the wrong approach. I think that you have to go through, because of the artist that you want to be. This is not true for everybody. You have to wait for that moment where there is a trigger that says, this now has started a process in me, and I need to write this down. And you need to put everything else aside and just do that. And it's not like, you're going to quit your job and all that kind of stuff, but you just like weed out any extraneous distraction from your life and just sit and do it. And then that's what you're doing, right? And that's what you need is that thing that's going to trigger you.
I do have other things written. It just feels weird to try and describe them.
What way? What do you mean?
Maybe I just hesitate to tell you the truth of writing about being in a human woman body.
Oh.
That's a thing that sells well, I guess.
Well, fuck selling well. That's a thing of value, right?
Yes.
Because I think one of the problems that we have in life as human beings is our inability to accept other people's lived realities. When someone's talking about something like that, now you're talking about you're not going to get what it's like, to be a person living in a woman's body. You're absolutely 1,000% right. Please help me understand. You know what I mean? That's what I want. I want, and it's just going to be Emily telling me how she feels, but it's not just that though, because you're going to tell me about how, and this is not a particularly great choice of words, but you're going to tell me how I make you feel, right? The part of your experience of a person living in a woman's body is how a person living in a man's body reacts and acts,
right,
and influences things that happen. And we talk about that on the global scale about what's going on in this country, where people want to take your right away to do everything. It seems like at this point we're heading back to a Puritan, let's just go all fucking live on the Mayflower or whatever the fuck, right? It's where there's no value to you as a human being, right?
Sure.
That's fucking horrible. But that's there because people like me put that there. And I'm not saying that we are all guilty as men, but I think that becomes part of sort of the lack of communication between men and women. Guys don't want to feel guilty at all. They don't want to feel responsible at all, right? We reach an impasse, sort of conversationally. And I don't know how to cure that. What I would love to see is, Emily, help me understand what you are feeling. Help me get this idea in a way that I can relate to.
I don't know if I'm good enough yet.
Because
to tell you that story.
That's perfectly valid.
I don't know if I'm good enough to tell the story in a way that I'm not the hero / victim / everybody loves me, poor me,
Right. No, I understand that.
I don't know how I'm going to get good enough to tell
I'm
anything
gonna
other than
beat
that
it
story.
out of you.
Promise?
Oh yeah, I'm going to just emotionally harangue you until
that is what I asked for.
It is what you asked. It's what you signed up for.
So how am I going to do it?
You get better by doing, right? That's number one. And number two, you get better by exposing yourself to the savageness of people's critiques. right? You get better by, when you do something, not simply relying on your friends and family to tell you. We already talked about this. What you need is criticism, not affirmation.
I know.
That's what you need. That's the thing. That's the thing that makes you better. And you have to build it up in yourself to be able to accept that. And that becomes part of your process, right? Briefly, you were saying like, oh, what a publisher is looking like. The publisher wants to make money, right? And a lot of times they're just looking like, oh, we had this one book and now I need 12 that are just like it to appeal to that audience, without realizing what attracted people to that book in the first place.
And those are the big guys?
The big guys, that's the way they all think. It's like they're all looking for, oh, hey, look at Harry Potter's really popular. Let's get another Harry Potter. And so they'll get people who was like, give us Kid Wizards, because that's what people want. Or even to a lesser extent, not a very good book, but 50 Shades of Grey. And it's like, oh, everybody wants fucking wanton, crazy BDSM sex shit. So let's publish a lot of erotica, because that's what people want. Here's the thing, and this is just my perspective, right? When you look at Harry Potter, and forget about...
Yeah, we'll forget about all that.
All the stuff that surrounds this author right now. When you look at Harry Potter, in essence, that was a book written by a single mom in a coffee shop. She wrote it for herself. Its success was not planned. And now people went crazy for it, because there was that part of it that's very genuine. It was real in the way that this is something that she wrote, in essence, for herself. Twilight started as Harry Potter fan fiction.
No, I don't think that's true. You could be thinking 50 Shades of Grey was Twilight fan fiction.
Yes. That's what I was thinking, right. And nobody would touch that book, 50 Shades of Grey. But I mean, it made her happy. She wrote that book not caring whether anyone actually read it or not. She wrote that book for herself. You've never seen Barton Fink, I'm going to assume.
Okay.
You've never seen Barton Fink. And there's, just to encapsulate it here, is about a writer who moves to Hollywood to make it in Hollywood, and then the Hollywood producer says, like, we wanted something with that Barton Fink feel, so we hired you, being Barton Fink and all, right? But that's like, everybody else stops at that, so we hired you. It's like, oh, we wanted that 50 Shades of Grey feel, so we went and found 12 people who could do it. Instead of like, I want your next book, it's like, this can be duplicated. We wanted that Harry Potter thing, so we went and found respected fantasy authors to like do something like Harry Potter, because it'll make money. That's what publishers do. It's the temptation. It's great. I did the same thing, not to the degree where I was thinking, hey, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac is really popular, so give me 12 things exactly like it. But you think about, okay, who is the audience for this thing? And it became, and it's one of the reasons I get the little nervous tics when I think about Comic-Con, but it's like Comic-Con actually informed me who the audience was. And comics are very immediate. There's not that separation between the people who produce the stuff and the people who read it. It's very immediate in terms of like, the fans are right there, whereas like if you're an actor or a director or whatever, it's maybe you're going to Comic-Con, but you're walking in the back door and they're going to walk you back out and you're just not going to really talk to anybody. But the comic people are very exposed. You're right there. You're out there. And if you're an aspiring artist, you're sitting in an artist alley or at a small table or something like, and you're trying to get people to look at what you're doing, and people give you that feedback, and it's immediate. And so one of the things that I saw would be, oh, here's all these people that are here wanting to get an autograph from, because they like Johnny. How are they reacting to the other titles in my booth? And it's like, oh, okay. And then I'll publish something like that, and then it won't work because I made an assumption about the readership that wasn't true. Where what I really needed was another 10 guys that had that same level of inspiration that Jhonen had.
Mm-hmm.
And those are just hard to find. You just can't. Some things are unduplicatable. It's all about, I hate it when people's like, oh, I got to figure out what I'm going to do based on what do you think might be popular. What you need to do is just find that inner you, the thing that you raged about being laid off from a job you had no business being laid off from. There'll be something else. And that's the thing. You should never let the commercial aspect of it interfere with your process. You should just do it. Just write it. But don't start until you're ready to really have an inspiration.
I just am on a journey to get over myself, and I'm not yet. I'm not
over yourself?
Yes.
Gee, really?
Maybe that's my flaw. Who knows? None of us could possibly know what my flaws are, but...
This is a journey of self-discovery.
I think we are all on our own personal journeys of self-discovery, and they come out in different ways, or we squash them down in different ways. If I were still in an office sending emails, I would just be squashing that down, or I would still be suffering from it, or I would still be pissing people off from it, and then I would go home and I would be like, they're just jealous of my sparkle. They wish they loved life as much as I did. When really I'm just annoying people.
I like they're jealous of my sparkle. That's really cool. I mean, you put that on a t-shirt. On the one hand, it sounds like an awesome level of self-confidence.
Sure. But I get in my own way because when I think I'm the fucking best, there's no way to get better.
Okay.
That's the reason why I keep coming back to the person who tells me I fucking suck.
I don't think I ever said that.
Okay. Well,
I feel like you're capable of accepting criticism, so I would never say you fucking suck.
No, you would say you're not as good as you think you are.
I did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice to hear.
Good.
Because it means I can get better. And I'm trying to break through the ceiling I've built over myself that I'm the best and I'm awesome.
Okay.
I don't know. I know, poor me. I'm sorry.
No. Don't be sorry. You never be sorry for being honest.
Okay.
Just be Emily, man. That's all anybody really wants. If you're trying to figure out what that Emily is, that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's people out there that are just going to be annoyed by you, and that's fine. Just don't hang out with those people.
And I guess the journey is not to become everyone's flavor.
It's to become
so very much my own flavor.
It's to be the best flavor you can be. Because when the flavor is trying to tell you it's good, the flavor is always going to tell you it's good.
I know.
Flavor lies.
I'm just overcorrecting from spending a long time thinking it wasn't very good.
Okay.
I'm just doing my best right now to get to that.
I would never have thought that.
I know.
Yeah. And here I am just fucking ruining all that journey of self-awareness.
You're not. You're helping.
You made a face.
Uh-huh.
Why?
Because I wish that I knew more about what I needed to know. And I feel like when I come in here and I'm like, I have all of this evidence that points to something. And then we stand back and we look at a board with all these strings and pictures all over it. And I'm like, I know the answers in here. And you're like, do you know the answers in there? And you're like, the answer is not going to be an answer you like. And I'm like, but I still want the answer.
Yeah. And
also, you're not here for me. You're not here to help me. You're here because you want to help people. And I brought mics.
I don't know that I am here because I want to help people as much. Honestly, I think that as we're approaching levels of honesty, that I have an untapped area of narcissism in myself that this somehow feeds.
Tell me more about that.
I can't. I don't know. I don't know if that's really what it is. I think maybe narcissism is the wrong word.
I would not be shocked if you told me that you also have an ego that you struggle to see around.
I have an ego that I definitely suppress. But I think part of that is because when you publish people, one of the things I always kind of found unpleasant about some people who were publishing comics is they tried to make themselves as important, if not more important, than the people they were publishing. So I tried to not be that person.
Mm-hmm.
it's really about, the people doing the work and not about me. So I try to not let that be a thing with me. But then years and years go through and I'm doing this hard work, like publishing people is a lot of work. And I had a fairly sizable staff for the size of the company that I had. And it always frustrated me when I would see people talk about all that they did.
Like the authors?
Yeah. And there was one guy who was interviewed in the LA Times. Pretty good sized feature article. And he was talking about how he was selling comics to Hot Topic and how he was getting all this. And I was like, that's my fucking work. I'm the one that went to Hot Topic and said, carry this comic and convinced them to do it. I'm the one that did that. That really bothered me. And I feel like a lot of people discounted people that were doing the work that I'd hired. And so obviously it's a small company and it's not a real money-making industry to begin with. So people who are doing the work are making a lot less. And it's not like we needed people to come up and like bow to us or anything, but it's like, don't take all the credit either. So
that must be a hard place to be, like to not want to steal glory from the authors, but also to want the authors.
And I think a lot of it gets mixed up in the whole idea that obviously if you're creating a comic or writing a book or something, then you want it to sell and you want a lot of people to buy it and then you want to make money from it. But I published people who were, for the most part, doing the stuff for the first time. So getting anything first-time author in any medium is tough. Whether you're doing a comic book or a cookbook or, a novel or graphic novel or whatever you might want to call it. So it's hard because you're not just selling the project, you're selling the author. Bookstores, comic book stores, they do the same thing. When they see a recognizable name, that's what gets the space, and everything else has to earn it. And so we have to try to help earn it. And so it's like, I only made like, $500 off this graphic novel that took me a year and a half to do. And I'm like, hey, what do you want me to tell you? I'm sorry, I'm really sorry that your book didn't sell as well as you were hoping it would, but it's not over for you. I had this one woman that I published that went public with talking about how little money she made from the book that I published for her. And it really made me angry because it's like, you think this is easy? I never promised you that you were going to make a lot of money.
It seems like a major theme here is that the art that has led your journey is never the art that is about money. No. It's about the art that reflects us back at one another.
Yeah, I think we talked about sincerity, and that's kind of one of the things I look for.
We talk all the time about sincerity.
Well, yeah, I know. And it's like one of the things that I kind of look for in people's work is it a sincere effort? And then people point like, oh, where's the sincere effort in Jhonen the Homicidal Maniac? That book is very sincere, and it's interesting because I don't know that I would have published it had I not met the guy. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know what the point of the whole thing was, but then I met him and I realized this is his lived experience. I mean, in a very bizarre way, this is how he's writing about things that make him angry. Because, we'll take a shot at this because I think he's actually got a lot of talent that's good. He's 19 years old, for fuck's sake. The fact that book succeeded the way it did, I had no idea this was going to happen. And anybody that told you that they did is lying because they can't see past the success. It's the same thing like with Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. Like we were just talking about it. They can't see past the movies and the merch and the fucking bestseller lists and this and that. They can't see back to where that was created. You have to look at things that are successful in terms of how you might approach things and then forget about the success. Really get into the weeds and look at that thing. Like, you want to write the next Harry Potter? Go read the first Harry Potter. Try and figure out where that author was when they wrote it. Jhonen the Homicidal Maniac became viral before there was a word for it. Before there was a social media, before there was a Facebook or an Instagram. There were people who were just making little tribute websites to Johnny. And these are things that I saw. And it's like, wow, he reached in even though he wasn't trying, because he was just doing it for himself, he reached in and found something where he touched a lot of people. It was very real to them. And I recognized that there was a real sincerity to it, even though nobody will believe it. I felt like this was honest work, even though it doesn't present itself that way. The thing that really got people involved with it was just the title. And it either got you to look at it or made you kind of like, this can't possibly be any good. But, and then the labeling it, oh, it's that goth comic. I was like, not really the goth comic, you know? There's no denying that people who were sort of into that stuff were into Johnny. But I mean, it used to bother me. Like, I would go to conferences, and not conventions. I'm talking about actual booksellers conferences. And for a long time, I did the circuit of all the library conferences, trying to get librarians to carry our graphic novels, our books, because that's a huge marketplace. If you're selling something, if you're selling books, you want libraries to buy your stuff because they don't send it back, number one. And number two, the more something gets checked out, the more they'll buy of it, because librarians only buy based on how people are checking things out. And if they bought copies of Johnny's and they were getting checked out a lot, then they'd need more. So they would buy more. And then the books would fall apart. And so we started offering them, library bindings and stuff like that would keep them there. But then they would always come back for more. And to this day, libraries are still a major part of the book sale, where I don't give a shit that Barnes & Noble doesn't put it on the shelf anymore. This library still carry it because people still check it out. And it's like as real a sales analysis as you could possibly have, because people are going in and it's like, I could take all this stuff home and read it. And people were getting exposed to stuff that they'd never see it in a bookstore. So libraries were like one of my keys. Mm-hmm. But I resented people's attitudes that they had about the book just based on the title. And I remember very clearly I was at a conference once and I was given the opportunity not just to exhibit, but to actually speak. And this one librarian stood up and was like, we can never put that in our library. I would never recommend that someone read that book. And I go, why? You haven't read it yet. I challenge you on that. And I tell you, it's like, this is as thematic a book as you'll ever see. It's very raw. It's very real. But this book is about anger and how things make the author angry, or that he gets angry about. And I think it has as much value as anything. And they said, well, school violence and this and that. And I was like, hey, you know what? If this book was going to trigger people to do that, we'd be finding them in every kid's room that shot up a school. It's clearly not. What it will encourage people to do is to write their own shit about shit that makes them mad. So that book, it may not be to your taste, but it has a lot of value. And it's something that, it was a cultural thing. It got people very involved. You either loved it or you hated it. And the envy that I would see amongst comic book creators who would look at this guy who came out of nowhere. And I remember to this day when we were first publishing it way back, when he was kind of going through that, we're first starting out, he just told me, I want to make films. I want to do other things. I'm never going to be the guy that comes to you every year with a new comic book project. And I respected that. I got where he was coming from. He did other things, did Invader Zim. And
I imagine that level of honesty was draining.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, you're like somebody who's fine, who like, whoa, look at that. We've got someone who's selling copies, and like what you want to hear is how we're going to do 50 more, this is going to be going on every month for the next 5 years, or every 3 months or whatever. And then he's like, yeah, this is where I'm not going to do this anymore. It's like, okay. And then what do? You go on, look for the next thing. That's what publishers do. We all look for the next thing.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Emily.